All right, hi everybody. Welcome to another installment of Ozzy and Keats. We're not great. We are just okay. The O there is Chris Osgood. The K here is John Keating. I am back at the Outside Ales Tap Room in downtown Grand Haven. I got kicked out of the house again. I think all of us can sort of understand that. Chris Osgood at his home in suburban Detroit. We are brought to you by the Michigan Lottery. For fun, for schools, and we come to you through the terrific assist we get from Podcast Nation in Troy, Michigan. And as we join you, we are recording this a couple of days after the end of the Winter Olympics, and the Winter Olympics ended in spectacular fashion. More so, I guess, if you're a fan of the U.S. hockey team than you are of the Canadian hockey team. How did I thought about this as I was watching it, as occasional American Chris Osgood was watching it as a proud Canadian. What were your thoughts?
I'm dual citizenship. I was just enjoying the game for real. People ask me that all the time. I wasn't cheering for anybody. It was just a really good game. That sounds very neutral, but I was.
Come on, that is such a weenie answer. No. You're born in Canada.
I know, in Western Canada. I have lived here since I was 19 in the U.S. Now I'm a cool young 53. But no, seriously, I wasn't really cheering for anybody. I was watching it. I get more fired up during the curling. It's an aspiring sport of mine. For years, I've done it a couple times. I think we've talked about it before the show. Amazing shots. Canada nipped the women's U.S. team in the bronze medal game. I saw that. But, you know, it was, I hear people, we don't like the 3-on-3, and, you know, Canada still thinks that they were the better team and that they were better, and they'll always be the best. That's kind of what the theme is in Canada. But, God, that was a good game. You think all the guys from Michigan, which I thought was really cool. Hellebuck, who played high school hockey with Commerce, amazing game. It was like Craig, when he played in 1980, kind of. For real. He was unreal. Had the luck, had the great saves, had the timely saves, had everything more. Probably the game was life, if you asked him.
And Bennington was solid as well for Canada.
I mean, they were. I'm amazed how great they were, considering the players that were on the ice, how good they are, how awesome. I was expecting that to be 5'4", 6'5", and both goalies were amazing for both ends. It's just a great game. You think of the game-winning goal for the U.S. I think it was 4 guys from Michigan were on the ice. It was Larkin, Urensky, obviously the goal scorer Hughes, he's wasn't born here, I don't think, but he's kind of planted himself here in Michigan. And Hellebuck, all on the ice at once for the game-winning goal. And amazing game. One of the best sporting events I've watched in quite some time.
And speaking of Michigan, we're going to be joined by former Red Wing Luke Glendening, who grew up in Grand Rapids, and of course, his is an amazing story. We'll get into that. A real life sort of Rudy hockey story is Luke Glendening, now playing for the New Jersey Devils. He's going to join us a little bit later in this episode. All right, you mentioned the 3-on-3. As I'm watching the end of this drama over 60 minutes, and I know it's set up, so there's no whining about the format or any of that kind of stuff. I just personally, as a purist, don't agree that you're determining a gold medal. I mean, basically, a lifetime of satisfaction versus heartbreak by 3-on-3 overtime. To my way of thinking, it should be a continuation of the 5-on-5. What were you thinking then?
Well, it's the same for both teams. That's what I say. So it shouldn't really matter. But I think in the gold medal game, though, I even think in the bronze medal game, and in the playoffs, should be 5-on-5. It should be determined the way the game's played. But those are the rules. There's some people say, it's not real if it's 3-on-3. I mean, I don't like the shootout. I can say that. And I don't like the shootout in the NHL either. I think it should be a 10-minute 3-on-3 for sure. They would end for the most part. The shootouts gotten real gimmicky. I don't even think the players enjoy it anymore. I think they hate it, to be honest. I was just hoping that didn't go to a shootout, which I don't believe it could have. I think it was 3-on-3 for 20 minutes, which obviously was going to end with those guys on the ice. But it's just, I look at it this way. It's just, it's the same for both teams. If Canada, if they had their chance to score, they could have won in regulation. They could have done a lot of stuff, but in the end, I mean, that was the last great game I've seen like that. I think in games I was thinking this to myself was when Canada played the Russians when they were CCCP in the Canada Cup, and it was 6-5, 6-5, 6-5, 3 games at a best
Oh my
of three.
gosh. Yeah.
I wish that was a best of 3, but I know it can't be. But I really do wish the Americans would play Canada in a best of 3. I think that would be amazing. The last time Canada played the U.S., I think it was the World Cup of Hockey when the Chuck was playing, the dad, and Roenick, I believe Chelly was playing. I think Joseph was a goalie for Canada. Those were unbelievable games. But I'd say when I watched Colorado play Detroit in the playoffs when I was with the Islanders, that was the best series I've ever watched for pure hockey. So, and that one joined one of the best games I've ever watched.
Well,
Not
as
best
a
days. The best days was when you retired. That was the best day. But the best game, the best day was like the next day after I worked with you, where I didn't have to see you for. That was good too. Those are the best days.
But well, I mean, we'll divert here for half a second because you say that, and yet
Yeah.
I couldn't even get out of the damn parking garage without my phone ringing because you wanted to talk
We need a
about
recap.
everything that had just been.
We need
Yeah,
a
we
recap.
the recap. Yeah,
Because when
I
you
know.
play hockey, when you play the games, you have a recap in the back. And my colleague, Larry Murphy, we used to have it over a wheel. He called the wheel. It was Little Caesars Pizza, by the way, at Joe Louis was the best Little Caesars Pizza you could find anywhere. So we'd go back there with a wheel and a couple beers and we'd recap the game. So you always recap stuff when you're playing. You go over the game, what could happen, what should happen, what you could have done better, what you did good. You go over the whole thing. And so I would do the same with you. We'd be in the parkade. You might be down a level for me. We'd be spiraling around like we're on a on an episode of Beverly Hills Cop chasing somebody, and I'd call you, and we'd go over the show.
And now that some time has passed, I can share with people my universal reaction every time I look down and see who's calling me as I'm still in the parking structure trying to get to the service ramp. For fuck's sake. For fuck's sake already. We just left the building and he wants to talk and he wants to chat.
I was just trying to get better. I mean, you were later there, you brought up your drug usage late in your career. So I was making sure you could just remember the damn show and what we talked about. Yeah,
if you're new to the podcast, he's talking about gabapentin I was taking for some a nerve thing I have in my neck. So there wasn't drug usage.
I'm gonna Google it. I need to see the side effects because now this is all making sense.
Yeah, the goofy things he said on TV. Well, it's all drug related. That's what it is. All right. So, well, first of all, as a proud American, we don't brag about the fact that you have dual citizenship. I can tell you that. We'd be fine if you were still a Canadian, but somehow they've let you into the country to live, and you don't have to worry about getting thrown into a van and carried to a detention center, right? You're here for keeps, right? Okay.
I'm here for good, for better, or for worse.
Oh my God, yeah, for worse, yeah. The women's game was just as thrilling and terrific for Megan Keller, who we got a chance to at least meet on a previous when she came through Little Caesars Arena a handful of years ago with her first gold medal to celebrate her second with the gold medal winning goal. And so, we're going to try to get Megan Keller on the podcast, a girl from Detroit who obviously had the same degree of success that another Michigander, Jack Hughes, enjoys.
Yeah, Michigan. Women's hockey is really coming along. I don't know how long ago it started, but now they have the professional league. The skating was unbelievable. I mean, it was just a fantastic game. The passing, the shooting. It's getting real good. And the other countries, I think it takes a while though. You think of Sweden, Finland. They're coming on. More and more girls are playing. That professional league is great for them. I wish there's more university teams. I think eventually there will be. But that professional league gives them. It's an aspiring thing, and there's a lot of girls playing. That game was great too. Another end-to-end game. Canada got heartbroken twice in a row. You think about it.
I know.
2 minutes
yeah,
left, and the girls score the tip-in goal. Just a great goal by the American women, and then the winning goal in overtime, which was just a fun goal to watch. So all around, just two fantastic games to watch. If you're a Canadian, you're disappointed but happy because I mean those are two great sporting events that you won't forget for quite some time.
And a quick shout out to Jenna Trubiano, who ran
Yeah,
the club team at the University of Michigan, and
yeah.
Denise Illich, who are pushing the drive to get a Division I women's college hockey program in the state of Michigan, because that crazily has not yet happened. So
Mm,
we'll wish them great success in that regard as the girls become more a part of hockey in the state of Michigan.
absolutely. I mean I think of that goal at Keller Square. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd love to get her on and go over it and from her view of it, right? In the overtime, what's she thinking? Because you forget, girls don't play 3-on-3 a lot. The NHLers play it all the time, right? In their league, I don't believe they don't get to that very often. So I wonder what her strategy was because she was kind of hanging out way up there and took a long pass and then ended up beating somebody 1-on-1. So it was really cool to see. And again, I mean, the Canadians a little bit heartbroken, but we weren't. We lost the men's game, but you know why we won? The bars were open at 6 a.m. across Canada.
Yes, okay.
So even when you're
Yeah.
losing, you're still winning.
That became a governmental proclamation.
Oh,
What
Boston Pizza
and
was open at 6 a.m. clear across the
yeah,
country.
I know, yeah.
4 a.m.
Um,
4 a.m. in BC. It
oh
was
my
open.
gosh,
Think of
were
that.
they open at four a.m.?
Yeah, because I was
Oh
watching
my,
CBC and they had they always happen. We're going back to
yeah,
wherever, and they go back and they show,
right.
and it was light Toronto, light Manitoba, Vancouver, dark in the bar. Like I'm like, did they just stay up all night long drinking?
Well, I'm
Like
sure. I'm sure they just maybe mopped the floor and then reopened. That was
I can't,
probably pretty much it.
I can't pull those off anymore. If I did that, I'd be out of commission for 3 days easily now.
Yeah,
And I can't
it's
remember last time I pulled it all night.
there were it's not
I mean,
anyone's best course
you
of
start
action.
panicking
So
at 8 p.m. Like the jammies are going on. You know,
yeah,
you're at the pub
I've
again. So
learned
the
that.
other
Yeah,
drink.
I mean, I don't have to see 1 a.m. anymore, and I'm okay with that.
No, it's good.
But before we move on to Luke Glendening, we want to mention previous podcast guest.
Mhm.
Mike Tirico was absolutely
Oh,
sensational through the NBC coverage. I know you were watching some CBC, but his job and especially the way that he closed things up and on the Olympics coverage, then NBC. I mean, he was just sensational from start to finish. Just the
again,
ability to be conversational about every sport that was being thrown his way.
probably the smoothest, coolest guy walking around on the planet right now. Maybe. I mean, you think of guys, and I always go. You've made it when both women and guys like you, like The Rock. He's liked universally. You think of like Magnum PI. He was like Tom Selleck, Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, right, right.
He was like universally. Certain guys like Keanu Reeves,
Chris
like
Osgood. Chris Osgood.
no,
weren't
no,
didn't Chris Osgood have men and female an
like
equal
Keanu
number
Reeves
of?
isn't. Keanu Reeves is Canadian, but I think more guys like him than girls. Then you think of Brad Pitt. He's a little bit of both, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously Charlie Sheen, one of your favorites. He's not in that category. He's not in the Trico category at all. Not at all.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how smooth and how good Trico can be, with also being like the nicest guy in the world, which he is.
I
It's
know.
incredible.
I sent him a text. He's getting accolades from all over the globe,
Oh,
and he sent me a text back today, and just said he
well,
appreciated it, and I told him we're going to let him breathe a little bit before we get him back on the
he does
podcast,
the
because
Super Bowl.
he's doing everything.
He does the
I
Super
know.
Bowl in San
Yeah.
Francisco, flies all the way to Italy. I'm 2 days later, or however many days, I turn on my
18
TV.
hours 18 hours later he's on the air in Milan. I
He's
mean,
nestling
that's crazy.
in a
So,
log cabin-esque set in Italy,
yeah.
and just as good as he always is, and making people
Yeah.
feel wonderful all the time. So he's one of my favorite
Yeah.
human beings. He's outstanding stuff he does.
All right.
Not
Let's
Charlie Sheen.
let's take a break. Yeah, not Charlie Sheen. Let's take a break. We'll step aside
I'm gonna
right
wear your
after
blood
this.
one day.
I know. From my blood. From
Yeah.
that's
Like Billy
from
Bob
the
Thornton,
Michigan.
Angela Jolie. Remember that?
Michigan Lottery is heard from next, and on the other side of that, it's Luke Glendening on Ozzy and Keats.
Pull the tab, now the win. It's that simple with pull tabs from the Michigan Lottery. No scratching, no waiting, just pull and play. Get your pull tabs at your favorite bar or restaurant today. Knowing your limits is always the best bet. Cash Pop hits fast and pays big. Pick your number between 1 and 15. If it matches the winning number, you win. Easy as that. Play for up to $5,000 4 times an hour. Play Cash Pop at any Michigan Lottery retailer today. Knowing your limits is always the best bet.
All right, we continue on Ozzy and Keats, and our guest interview is brought to you by the Michigan Lottery for fun, for schools. In his 13th season playing in the NHL this year with New Jersey, former Red Wing Luke Glendening joins us. All right, we'll talk about your days in Michigan and with the Wings, but your current teammate, Jack Hughes, is going to come back and obviously going to get a hero's welcome when he rejoins your team. Of course, he probably did so as he landed on American soil. How delighted were you for a teammate, Jack Hughes?
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable to watch. Even past teammates, to see Larks, Jake Ottinger, I got to play with in Dallas, Gensel in Tampa. So happy for all of them. But to see Jack score that goal was special.
Yeah, really cool stuff, Luke. 8 years in Detroit. What's your fondest memory as a Red Wing?
Oh man, there's so many of them. For me being from Grand Rapids, to be able to play with some of the guys that I grew up watching, Henrik Zetterberg, Pavel Datsyuk, was such a treat to be there for the last year of the Joe, the first year of Little Caesars. Those all stick with me. But one, I think probably getting to play at the Big House in the Winter Classic was something that was really special to me after playing at Michigan.
All right, well, let's go back and remind people, because this is, and I mentioned it earlier, I mean, it's a Rudy Rudiger story, because I can recall doing your East Grand Rapids football games when you guys played in the championship level, and then you walk on at Michigan. You don't get a scholarship. You walk on in Michigan. You become the captain there, and then you're not drafted into the NHL. You sign with Grand Rapids, and 13 years later, you've got all this time under your belt as a member of the NHL. When you look back on your athletic beginnings, could you have imagined what would transpire over the course of a couple of decades?
Certainly not. It's been a whirlwind. I feel like it was just yesterday that I, had my first game against the Philadelphia Flyers at home. I still remember that, getting the call to come up. But even before that, I started in the coast, but like that, to me, I never even thought I was going to be able to do that. So it's been quite a ride, that's for sure.
What was it like? The first game's always the coolest thing, John, when you play in NHL. What was it like when you walked into the dressing room at the Joe and you saw your name, Glendening, across a Red Wing jersey?
Yeah, I just remember being, overwhelmed, but just growing up in Michigan with I had been there as a fan, and never, ever in my wildest dreams, I guess in my wildest dreams, I thought that I might be out there, but I was a realist. I could look at the reality. I was undrafted. I walked on in college. I was just so happy to play at Michigan. I couldn't believe that I was actually getting a chance to be in the Red Wings locker room.
What kind of thoughts did you have as you were getting to your senior year at Michigan? What was going to be the next step for Luke Glendening?
Honestly, I didn't know. I had an advisor at that point, so they were like, well, you might have a chance playing the American League, or give it a shot in the coast for a little bit. So I was planning on doing that for a year or two, and then trying to become a teacher and a coach. So to be playing in the NHL basically a year and a half after I graduated was something I never imagined.
Oh, amazing stuff. Because one of my favorite guys I've ever met training camp, Red Berenson. What is it like to play for Red Berenson? Because he was a unique person when I met him a few times.
Yeah, he was always he was so good to me. Gave me a chance. But I've told this story before, and it's not a knock on him. It's just this is where I stood my freshman year. we're having a team meeting, and he's saying Brendan, but he's looking right at me. And he says it a few times, and then Mel Pearson knocks on my leg and he's like, "Hey, he's talking to you." And I'm like, "Oh, he doesn't even know my name yet." So, but taught me so much about, not just about hockey, but about life. His big thing was, you got to be hard on the ice, but like after the games, like he always expected us to go, visit with the children from the hospital that were there watching the game. So he always talked about life after hockey, but he stayed in stayed in the game his whole life. But just a great man, to learn from.
All right, we made mention of Jack Hughes, and of course, he famously lost his teeth right before he scored the goal. And for those who are watching on YouTube, we can see that Luke Glendening is missing a couple of chiclets. To those listening, you'll have to imagine that. For those of us who have not lost teeth, can you describe what that's like?
Disappointing would be the biggest word I have for it. I made it till I was 30 years old with all my teeth, and then since then, in the last 6 years, I've lost four of them, or five of them now. So yeah, disappointing. I think mostly for my wife, and but that's all right. That's just the way it goes.
So what's the process? I mean, you get temporary ones that you can snap in when you're not playing. Is that generally what happens?
Yeah, so I have a flipper that I can wear, but I don't speak super well with it. So it's worse than if I just have them out.
Do you think that Calder Cup title, that was a great year by you, by the way, with the Grand Rapids Griffins? That must have been a big deal at the time. Kind of catapulted you to the Red Wings, that playoff.
Yeah, for sure.
And playoffs.
I think, like, for me, it was just so cool to be like from Grand Rapids. And
Yeah.
I mean, I started in the coast that year. I got called up at Christmas, and Blash like famously tells the story that he just couldn't wait to send me down. He was waiting like every day to send me down. And I was just so happy to be there. I didn't even notice. I was like, this is the best thing in the world. But yeah, we had a great run. I played with Jan Mersak and Jeff Hogan. So we had an older line. But just like I gained so much learning from those guys. And we were up 3-0 to Syracuse, and then ended up losing 2 at home, having to go back to Syracuse. But just great experience, but it was tough because Hogan always used to say to me, this doesn't happen right away. Usually, like my first year in the league, jump in, we won, and I've been chasing that in the NHL ever since, but it's hard.
All right, 8 years with the Red Wings, a couple of years with Dallas, a couple of years with Tampa, and now with New Jersey. And when you reach the stage of your career, and again, 13 years in the NHL is sensational, and as we talked about it, I mean, on the edge perhaps of 1,000 games for your NHL career. How I guess not tenuous, but how much are you sort of looking around to see who they're bringing up as a guy who's now in his 30s, trying to make sure that your career goes as long as you would like it to go?
Yeah, I mean, I've often said that people in my position don't really get to retire. You just can't find a job anymore, so you end up having to quit. But I've tried to keep myself in as good a shape, and like I love the game. I've had so much fun over my 13 years. I still feel like a kid every time I get to go to the rink. And I don't know, like, you don't know what's going to happen. So I just always try to stay prepared. I don't know if that's a great answer to your question, but
no, it's fine. It's fine. How different are the cultures from Detroit? And we all know, what it's like around the Joe and then Little Caesars Arena, and then going to Dallas and Tampa and now New Jersey. How different are the hockey cultures, either within the room or within the towns?
Yeah, I think everywhere, it's a little different. I was so fortunate, to start my career in Hockey Town, and especially in a place where I grew up, especially those first couple of years when we made the playoffs, to see that city. But even the support when we weren't making it was still pretty solid. And then, going to a couple non-traditional hockey markets, but places that love their teams. They've all been different, but I've learned a ton and really enjoyed my time in each place.
Do you ever consider yourself a role model, which you are? You captain of all these teams as well as playing. I always look undrafted, 916 career games played. That's incredible stuff. Does anybody ever ask you for advice? Because a lot of kids get drafted, don't make it. A lot of kids that get undrafted kind of pack it in way too early. Have you ever? Has anybody ever asked you what you did or how you done it or what kind of advice you can give them?
I mean, I think along the road, I've tried to, encourage guys in any way that I could. I mean, you guys both watched me play. I think you
Yeah.
both can attest to the fact that I don't have the most skill. I've never been a super talented hockey player, but I've been willing to work. I've been like my agent told me a long time ago. He's like, if you're willing to do things that other people aren't, you have a chance to play in this league. And I've just tried to do that my entire career, whether it's blocking shots or I don't know, back check. It just stuff that's like face offs, stuff that's kept me around. And, so I just encourage I encourage guys just to enjoy it. Like it's not always easy, like started in the coast, go to the American League, you're up and down between the American League and the NHL. And just embrace whatever role that you're given at the beginning and try to work your way out of that if you're not happy with it. Um, that's I don't know. And I just think sometimes people take it for granted. They think it's going to be easier than it is, and it's not. It's hard, and it can be trying. But just encourage them to keep pressing on.
To that point, have you seen guys who are drafted first round, second round, third round, knowing that you were not drafted, and you say to yourself, it's like, man, if you guys worked a little bit harder, the game would be so much easier because you've got all this skill that you're not taking the most advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people nowadays, especially, work hard. I don't necessarily think it's a work thing. I think it's more an acceptance of a role that maybe they're not
Hmm.
they don't want.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. Like I sometimes say I was fortunate because I was never a power play guy. So like when I got to the NHL, it didn't kill me that I wasn't on the power play because I didn't play power play in college. I didn't play in the American League. Like most guys that get to the NHL have been skill guys, and then they have to like figure out a way to block shots, to
Yeah.
penalty kill. And for me, I never had to do that. Like I kind of was a grinder my entire life. So when I got to the NHL, I was like, this is just what I do. So I think in that way I was really fortunate because I never had that expectation that I was going to be a power play guy.
You think that simplistic kind of attitude, your personality, has helped you not to really worry about what's coming next and just enjoy the moment as where you are, like as in right now, you're in New Jersey. You guys got a good young team, as one as good as it could have went, but the possibility is always there. The second half, the last half of the season, but just to enjoy the moment and work as hard as you can. It's that simple.
Well, for sure. And I think like for me, I've always kind of been a borderline guy. Like I often say like there's guys in the American League that are better than me. They just don't want to do what I do.
Yeah.
And so I think part of it is just like I've always every day I gone to the rink, I just feel so fortunate to be in the NHL, to be playing hockey for a living. And so I've never really taken it for granted. It's been like a day by day process. And I mean, maybe that's why it's flown by so quickly, just because every day is just such a blessing to me. But yeah, I would agree with that.
Is that your upbringing in East Grand Rapids? I mean, your folks sort of instill that within you. That I mean, because we've seen countless athletes that pitch a fit if they're not getting this kind of ice time, or they're not on the power play, or they're stuck being asked to back check stuff like that. That they're not willing to do. Is that your upbringing that's played a role in that?
My parents, I mean, they instilled great values in me, and not to say that just because you're frustrated with your ice time that you don't have great values, but they were just kind of like just work. And my dad always said, work hard, be a good sport, and try your best. And that's like kind
Yeah.
of how I've just kept trying to go my entire life.
That's what I tell Ozzy before we start every one of these damn podcasts, and it goes absolutely nowhere. And I tell myself, be a good sport, and it goes off the rails because of who I'm dealing with here.
Any aspirations to coach when you're done playing? I mean, I think you'd be a perfect coach.
Yeah, I would like to. I just like obviously I have to find a place to be able to do that, but I would love to coach, partly just because I've had so many experiences. Like I've played in the coast, I've played in the American League.
Yeah.
You know, I was undrafted. I walked on in college. Like I've seen some things on both sides, and like I would love to just encourage, you know, be a help to younger players if I could.
When you're a walk on in college, how long does that take to? Because I don't know. When you're walking it on in college, University of Michigan, how long does that take you to to make it to integrate yourself with the team? Was there lots of setbacks first until you made it? I don't know how that works, and probably a lot of other people don't either.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So they gave me like a 1 year trial basically, and said you'll be on the team for 1 year. You won't play the first year, but if you do okay in practice, you can stay on the team. And our captain got hurt early in that season, so I ended up playing like 36 of 40 games or something around there. Um, but I went to my end of the year meeting, and I remember being terrified. Um, because I was like, well, they only said I had 1 year tryout. And so
Yeah.
I remember calling my parents thinking like, well, that was so much fun. I can't believe it's over. And I went in, I had this long meeting, and at the end, I'm like, so am I still on the team, or like what's going on here? And they're like, yeah, you're still on the team. They're like, you played almost every game, but that was I mean, it was an awesome moment, but like, yeah, there was, like a lot of doubt in my mind, even though I was playing, of like, is this real? Do I get to keep doing this or not?
Let's talk about the fraternity that exists within players who went to Michigan. Just seeing each other around, and the I guess the bond that exists between whether you played on the same team at Michigan or whether it's other guys that played in Ann Arbor as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of guys go back, whether for alumni weekend or you see a lot of the younger guys are playing in the league now. So to see them is always cool. And I still catch up with my classmates and guys I played with who are doing different things in life now. And it is a special bond. You spend 4 years with guys, living with them
Sure.
and being with them every day. And it's great to see them succeed, whether in hockey or in something else.
What's it like in the summer when you guys are getting ready for a season, or what it's been like when you got all these guys, whether they went to Michigan or not, or just happen to live in Michigan, are looking for, ice time, that kind of thing. What are those scrimmages like?
Yeah, I mean the Detroit area, it's phenomenal. There's so many. I mean, there's probably 2 to 3 really good groups of players that are skating, and it's a great place to be if you're training in the off season for sure.
Is Mickey Redmond ever out there? He tells me stories that he's out there with Hughes. Is he out
Well,
there
I
with you
think
guys?
that
Every now and then he shows up, doesn't he?
well, I think he goes out with the Hughes skate. That's a little above my
Oh,
skill
yeah.
level, but
That's true.
Mickey wants the power play time. He's a power play guy. So
yeah, that's
yeah.
a little above me. But yeah, I just saw a picture of him actually, and he was out there. So
Hey, we're thrilled to get a chance to chat with you, and we've watched your career from various places that you've gone after you left Detroit, and
Yeah.
you're one of ours, and we're delighted for the chance to catch up, and good luck getting through the rest of the season, and maybe we'll see you when the Wings and Devils meet each other in the playoffs.
all right, thank you guys so much for having me.
All right, the great Luke Glendening joining us, and we'll continue in a moment on Ozzy and Keats.
Win up to $6 million playing instant games from Michigan Lottery. Over 100 thrilling options from $1 to $50. Instant adventure, any budget. They're instant fun for everyone. Knowing your limits is always the best bet. What do anniversaries, game day scores, and birthdays have in common? They could be your winning Michigan Lottery Daily 3 and 4 numbers. Turn your personal moments into a shot at cash. Go ahead, play favorites. Knowing your limits is always the best bet.
All right, we continue on Ozzy and Keats, brought to you by the Michigan Lottery. How much do you root for a guy like Luke Glendening? I mean, in part because he played for the Red Wings, but also having grown up on the west side of the state and gone to Michigan to the point that he walked on. I mean, it really is a good story, and now he's got 13 years in the NHL.
Yeah, it's a great story of perseverance and very humble, by the way, but never give up. There's probably many times where he thought that's enough, this isn't going to work. I can't do this again, but just continues to do it. Next thing you know, you look up and I love how it says undrafted 916 games in the National Hockey League.
I
That's
know.
real difficult. A lot of guys, John, like get drafted. I think I looked it up in an article, like 9% that get drafted make it and have it play 82 games. So what he's done is remarkable. And he's very unassuming about it. Very, I want to say bashful about it. One day, I think when he's done playing, it always happens. You really appreciate what you had accomplished. And I think it'll really come into his coaching. He'd make a fantastic coach. And I look at guys that never played in the Myers, John, don't know what it's like to be in the Myers. Like you think of Wayne Gretzky coaching certain superstars. They don't make great coaches. A guy like Luke Glendening, who's really had to scratch and claw and fight at every level. I think, and a smart individual would make a real, real good coach one day. So we'll look for that in the future.
All right, that thing you said about just approaching a
be
day
your
when
life
things aren't
coach.
going,
Your life.
Can I finish the thought? That thing you said about things not going my way, and you just decide you're not going to do it anymore. That's me every day that I deal with you. That's every day.
It is.
Why do I do? Why? And I ask myself the question that you ask all the time: Why? Why do you want to put yourself through that?
I purposely do stuff to get you riled up. Like I love when you're not when
Oh my
you
God.
couldn't get online or your internet wasn't working. And I love like if you say 2, I'll purposely get on at 2:02 just to see your reaction. It's like an outtake of a movie. Like it's just the reactions are worth every minute. Everything.
Wouldn't that be funny if we recorded me waiting for you to fucking show up?
It'd be great.
And just play back all the reactions of me looking at my phone, throwing my phone down. Damn it! What the hell?
Yeah.
So
The old outtakes, the old clips after a movie back to me.
Well, and that would be and that goes back to our TV days. I mean, if they recorded some of the things that happened when we were on the set together, dear God, and that's how Ripple was born.
How that
back
happened.
in the day. All right, questions now for Ozzy. Okay. I'd like to hear both of your best Slava Kozlov stories, as he was my favorite growing up. I was sad when he was traded away, but we got Hasek.
I got a great story.
Okay, this is from Jeremiah Yunker, by the way.
Jeremiah, I'm in.
Yes.
Adirondack. We're on the Maritimes trip. The Maritimes trip consists of Halifax, St. John's, where the Maple Leafs farm team was. You played 2 games there, and I remember walking in and Slava was young. We had some other Russians that were on our team. Kuznetsov, we had 3 or 4, and that was when they had first started coming over, John. I remember going in. We were at this restaurant, and they're all sitting around the table, just chugging cigarettes back the whole time. Slava Kozlov was one of them, and I'm 20 years old. I'm like, this is like, am I going to make it through this year? Like, I'm on this trip and it's night after night because they'd won the Calder Cup the year before. There's older players that had been there. I mean, it was tough. It was tough sledding away from the rink, but made it through. And I think it trained me for whatever I'm doing now. But I remember seeing Slava Kozlov young, and I'm like saying, because I was a rookie, he was a rookie, Mac McCarty was a rookie, Draper was, Marty Lapointe, and Jamie Pusher. And I'm like, I don't think you should be doing that. I was just kind of looking at him, but he didn't speak very good English, but I was like, I don't know what to say to him other than you shouldn't be doing that.
I'm not one to talk about how an athlete should be behaving, but if I were you, I might not be smoking, chain smoking cigarettes. But when I look back and again, this is way inside behind the curtain. There was a bathroom that was across the hall from the Red Wings dressing room at Joe Louis Arena, and it was sort of reconfigured to become a television studio. That's where we did what we call the walk-off interviews. So the players would walk and they'd come in, sit down, and we'd do the interview in between periods. And but occasionally there was a veteran Red Wing that would come in, and in between periods he would light up a heater. And how much of that did you see in your NHL days?
Lots.
Did you?
And I remember I was in Adirondack again. I'll go back. I was in Glens Falls Civic Center. Mark LaForest, he was a goalie, and I kind of grew up watching him because he was in Toronto. So I kind of looked up a lot of guys I got a chance to play against in the minors that I watched play. They're kind of in their careers now. And he was sitting on a milk carton, like an old milk box, like those plastic ones, taping his goalie stick, smoking a cigarette underneath the stands. I'm like, there's no way he can be playing. I'm like, just turned 20. Then he patrolled the red line the whole warm-up, back and forth and back and forth. And I'm watching, like, he can't be playing. He's smoking cigarettes underneath the stands, and now he's not even taking shots. Oh no, he played and he beat me. He let in 1 goal. So I'm thinking, then you're driving home and you're like, am I doing something wrong? You know, like, and then you're thinking, what have I got myself into here? But that was a complete different time then. I mean, that's just kind of the way
Of course.
it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even heard of nowadays, which is a good thing. These athletes are in such great shape, and they really take care of themselves. But just the stuff you see, the cigarettes, that was not everybody, but a few guys.
Well, again, going back to our TV days, I would see you before a game, and I'm thinking, oh, there's no way he's going to be ready for this game to start. And you know, as I'm seeing, you know, what you're doing to yourself, and somehow you fooled everybody for a long time.
You put it together.
Yeah.
It's the old adage,
okay.
smoke and mirrors, right? That's what they say.
That's it. All right, one more question. This is from Joy in Maybe, Michigan. You know where Maybe, Michigan is? I had to look this up.
Maybe Michigan.
Maybe Michigan.
My mom's name is Joy. She's trying to play a trick on me here, saying she's maybe.
No, I don't think so.
I joke. I don't know where
Maybee is in Monroe County, so southwest of Detroit on the way to Ohio.
Yeah.
All right, from Joy, could you possibly help us, Ozzy, understand how broadcasting works in our area? I don't know, just trying to understand as a consumer, is there something we could do so it's available to us? So I thought, here is your platform to explain what broadcasting hockey and baseball is going to, and basketball is going to be like going forward.
Did you write this question?
I did not. No, this is Joy from Maybe. Maybe Ozzy's not going to be able to answer it.
Yeah, maybe. I probably won't be able to answer it, although I do hope it's on. I know the one thing is frustrate a lot of my friends, big Red Wing fans, don't get to watch as much as they would like. I would say that it's definitely changed. I don't know. Hopefully it's on. Maybe they start a network, Michigan Sports Network, and our teams are on kind of like the MSG network in where's that? New York, right? They have their own. Nesson is Boston, right? That's all the Boston teams.
Yeah, right.
I'd like to see that where you have all the Michigan teams playing, plus you can
put
it high
that's
school
not
sports.
happening. That's not that. Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
That was. I mean, basically, that was Fox Sports Detroit back in the day. So.
I used to love watching because of my town where I grew up. All the sports were on the local channel. When you were doing the football, when I watched the whip around Friday night football show of the high school games, I loved that stuff when they showed the kids playing high school. Then they show the hockey playoffs, which was played just over at Compu Arena, USA Arena now. I love that stuff. I love watching that stuff. I think great. I wish that was back on, but hopefully we got to watch our Red Wings and our Tigers. We got to get them on. So hopefully, and I still think that's a great question by Joy, but I still think that you set me up with a question that you know damn right that I could never answer.
Well, I will give. I mean, my understanding. I mean, the basic understanding is that everybody's going to have to pay for things that you didn't have to pay for, or you're going to have to pay more than you used to pay. And what not everybody understands is in the days of Fox Sports Detroit, you were paying for Fox Sports Detroit. It was within your cable system. And then when everybody started cutting the cord and, you know, didn't want all the cable channels, well, then all of a sudden that leads to a bit of a scramble, and the teams aren't making as much money. And so that's how streaming has become the thing. And as I understand it, the Tigers and Red Wings under the Ilitch umbrella are going to be controlled by MLB TV. But Joy, to answer your question, I think if you love the Wings, you love the Tigers, you love the Pistons, it's a matter of figuring out how you're going to get it and then having to pay for it. So,
and whatever channel they're on or where they're at, there's good news. You won't be on there anymore.
That's right. That's right.
You're gone. You won't come back.
That's right. I won't be on it anymore.
Great timing.
All right.
Fantastic.
It's a great place to end. We appreciate the sponsorship of the Michigan Lottery for fun, for schools. For Chris Osgood, I'm John Keating. We'll see you next time on Ozzy and Keats.
Thanks, Joy. Ozzy and Keats is produced by Zachary Davis and Bill McAllister and proudly distributed by Podcast Nation in Troy, Michigan.